All right, so without further ado, we got our special guest for the night. Drum roll, please. First off, we got DJ King Kong from Sound Sequence. Give it up, everybody. And then we got DJ John Rok from Rok-A-Long Productions.
What's going on, everybody? What's up, JR? Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. And then we got Henry from Mystical Legacy. Boom. Some OGs in the house. Everyone give it up for the OGs. Let's start this off with, just so people can kind of get familiar with you guys a little bit. I know your guys' stories, but I think for the chat, a lot of people don't know your stories. Let's start off with Burt. So, tell us how you got into DJing and how you started up your crew and all that.
I mean, I started DJing probably around 1983. I think a lot of us at that time were kind of doing B-boy things, like whether it was, it wasn't even breaking at that time. I think it was more just strutting and locking. So that after the strutting and locking kind of came, the DJing. And we kind of got the idea just from seeing kind of the older guys or other kind of like our OGs DJ, whether it's Sound Explosion, Electric Sounds, Ultimate Creations, those kind of guys like in the beginning of the 80s and just going to dances and like house parties. The first crew that I was in, it was with Daisy Ikmat from El Camino High School. She's acting out in that picture. That's probably around like 1987.
Okay.
That's Roland on the left, and then Joey J Rock still DJs, and I think he reps for Pioneer. DJ Hassan from Bumpin' Sounds. Both of those guys are from San Jose. And then myself, and then Jimmy Camarinas, and then my cousin Norman Poon from Creative Madness, Union City. And I want to hype up the guy at the far left. So that's DJ Devastator. He was the main DJ in our group. He won the first cameo battle. I think it was against Prince Ice, maybe Dave Meyer, a few other people. I think Dave Meyer's before his time. I forgot who it was, but it was a few other people. But that guy's, he's like the Joe Montana of DJing. And I'm like, I was like the Steve Bono, I barely came off the bench, only if someone got injured. So we started with just a guy who, God rest his soul, Nicholas Burko. So there was three of us, and we all kind of went to different high schools, and we had this big graduation party. But this was our senior year at South San Francisco High School, so we were going to have this big party at my friend's house that his parents always let us party at. We had free beer, free drinks. We had Jello wrestling. I don't know. We had all kinds of stuff. It was a little bit crazy. Yeah. It's out there. Classic. At that time, people were skating and into like locomotion and surfing. So we have the BYOD, bring your own drugs, the little map. I don't know. I think he has something like no posers. No, I don't know. It's pretty wild. Well, anyway, that was Nick's drawing. It was definitely not 2020. Yeah, dress Hawaiian, casual, or nude. So that kind of tells you the direction of that party. So anyways, so we had that big party, and it was kind of like, one of those, high school movies where after the party, everyone's drunk, and it's like, what are you going to do next? You go to college? I don't know. What are you going to do? So everyone's fucking, just the next morning, what are you going to do? We're still DJing, but a lot of the people that were going to be in the crew, like Daisy, she said, I'm going to college, I'm going to do this. So, you guys are on your own. Then there was these two other guys that we hung around with, and one was Roland, the Devastator, Brian Padilla, Don Babute, Troy David. They already had a crew called Sound Sequence. So I wasn't officially in Sound Sequence until that graduation of 85. And then we decided to kind of just combine our equipment together to form Sound Sequence. But the reason why we didn't call it Infinite Sounds, which was the prior one, we went to the table, we said, who has the most business cards left? And they said, well, we still got 200. How many you got left, Bert? I said, I got like 25. So then we're going to roll with Sound Sequence. So that's why we rolled with Sound Sequence. I would say Sound Sequence probably went strong from 85 to about 87 or 88. And I think around 86, what was fashionable was these alliances. You get your friends that are in a different crew or in a different city. It's almost like, like NATO or something, Yeah. You would kind of have these little packs. So our thing was, because we were known for our speakers, for like the Cerwin Vega, like earthquakes. So I said, why don't we call ourselves the Legion of Boom? So that just resonated with all of us at that time. Like, it sounded dope. We always wanted to be the evil guys. We wanted to be feared. We didn't want to be pretty and have like the best jackets. I'm not making fun of your jacket though, John. I'm just saying, but there's a lot of other crews that had really nice clothing that said their crew, but they had no equipment. That's all I was gonna say. So we really prided ourselves, and you know what? We should buy good equipment. Hell with the jacket, and just concentrate on that. And I think at that time, it seemed like the Bay, Daly City, San Francisco, we were way more into lights. So, you know, if you talk about Ultimate Creations, all these other, they had a lot of lighting. Yeah. So that's why I was like, yo, man, to me, if you're DJing, if you want people to hear you, you invest in the sound first. That's why we kind of went sound heavy as opposed to the light.
Henry, can you tell us about how you started DJing and how Mystical Legacy started?
So I grew up in San Francisco, so the Mission District, and actually, it was 1982. I must have been 12 or 13 years old. A guy named Alex Daytop, he influenced me into getting into, mixing music. In fact, I think I was in probably the 7th or 8th grade, and he was already, scratching something I didn't really know, he was like I'm not saying he's like a Q-bird, but he thought his thought process was way ahead of everyone else. But anyway, he was my influence, and I was mainly getting my equipment from him. Whenever he upgraded, I bought the old stuff. When I started high school in '84, I met some other old school DJs. Alan Lopez, who's now DJing with NSB, Nonstop Boogie, but prior to that, he was in our group. So this was '84 when we started the group in high school. We got hot till about '88, '89. Then we kind of like disappeared. One went to the Philippines, one joined other crews, and I went ahead and got married and started a family.
So Rok-A-Long is actually a group from Vallejo. And of course, like Burt mentioned, a lot of them started out as poppers and lockers and breakers. And so we were actually Rok-A-Long kids, because that was our breaking crew back in the day, like 80, 81, 82, when hip hop kind of got big in our area. And my old classmate back in 8th grade, Ray Salvador, DJ Ray, 24 Karat, was at his house one day, and he brought over his record player downstairs, and he said, watch this, and started playing a tape, playing a rock. And then he brought his turntable in, and he started mixing in another song to him. It's like, hey, we should do that. We should keep doing that. And we're 8th graders. They're like, what, 13 years old at the time? So we tried to do a little parties here and there. And then all of a sudden, we went to another house party where we met George Santos, another brother of ours. And George already had some equipment. Like, he set up box lights, and he had one turntable. And so he asked me if I wanted to go ahead and just play music. I started playing music for him. Crowd was feeling it. Ray came along too. He was feeling it. And then we're like, we should just do this. This should be our thing. We should be our own DJ group. Because there's a lot of DJ groups in Vallejo at the time. But a lot of them like played rock and new wave. And we were like straight hip hop heads. So we wanted to do our own thing. So eventually, we had our own group. We changed it to Rok-A-Long Productions. And we're still actually that close as a family. So these are all people that I've known since 76, 77. And we've been friends throughout these decades. And it's a pretty tight-knit group. And can still say we're still DJing here and there. I still DJ, and pretty proud of the legacy we built in Vallejo.
Cool. So you guys remember like I guess you guys kind of mentioned it, like your first gigs. Because, obviously you guys were a bunch of kids. It's like, who's going to hire you guys? Like, were you just starting like house parties or?
I'll go first. We definitely in Vallejo, there's a ton of house parties. And, everybody's having like cotillions. So in Filipinos, everybody, all their friends, girls that are turning 18 to get their cotillion parties, and so they need a DJ. They need DJs, and they need someone to go to the party too. And the DJ crews back then, you're like 15 to 20 people deep, so you're already bringing your own party. So I think in Vallejo, especially, that's how it really blew up. We were all over the place on the North Bay side. So Fairfield, Hercules, Vallejo. It was pretty fun growing up that way.
Cool. Henry?
I actually had free advertising because my my parents owned a Filipino video rental store, renting VHS movies. So all the renters that would come in, my parents are like, "Oh, you should hire my son. He's a DJ if you're ever having a party." So we started getting gigs all over San Francisco, from downtown to the Mission District to Alameda area, Excelsior, going up to Templeton, and then soon we started branching out to Daly City.
If you think about it, kind of backtracking on what you said, it's pretty incredible that what Henry's talking about and what John's talking about, that we were young kids that barely had any type of formal education outside of high school, any type of business or anything like that, and we were running a business, with contracts, meeting with clients that are legitimate businesses, and doing things to kind of further our skills outside of just messing around and playing basketball and getting in trouble. So I think that's one of the things, from the first gigs, we always try to keep it very like business-like and professional, because we all took out loans on the equipment. We all had to pay for things, which was crazy, is that we got a loan, just to buy that stuff. So like the first year, I mean, we were hustling our ass off just to pay that off. And I think we paid off a $5,000 loan in the first year, which is that's a lot of money, back then. And then I think the big difference between kind of how people DJ now as a business and how people DJ back then is we were a crew, we were a business. So there was members. It wasn't now where it's, when John DJs, it's John. John pays himself. John is the sound guy. John does everything, right? So like Henry said, maybe someone is the driver. He drives the truck. That's his contribution to the group. So everybody played an important role in the group. I joke about me being third string, and then about my main thing was the sound guy. Like I would set up the audio and think about like how we're gonna because everything is different. It's not a club where you just show up. It's every gig you have is going to be different. So you have to kind of like, adapt to that. And I think that's kind of like the bigger thing. So, I mean, I really like football a lot. So I'll bring the football analogies in. Like I said, that's what's cool about the thing is everyone had a job. Nobody, well, at least I could speak for our crew, was like, not like, oh, how come Burt gets a DJ at this time? It's like, I knew my role. It's like, this is my role. This is it. But when it came to splitting the bill, we all got paid evenly too. You know what I mean? Outside, number one, pay what we had. We'd go half, half to pay the bill, and whatever's left, we split amongst ourselves, whoever came, and I'm really proud of that as a young person and young people, that we kind of, just started that, the entrepreneurship. And it kind of just carries on with a lot of, all of us and the things that we do now. And then, of course, a lot of motivation was, to meet girls.
Yeah.
Silence in the room. Oh, John, come on. That's just a nod.
Yeah. Imagines were nothing but Imagine girls and all the girls that showed up to hang out.
So even though you were just a sound guy, like, were you guys still like getting notoriety as a crew, or was it always the DJ kind of like getting more, I guess, cred?
It was more of the crew. I think it was more the crew at that time. It was more the crew.
Yeah, especially when you see the flyers, right? You see the names of the groups. We rarely saw featuring this DJ or that DJ. It was the crews, and it was the crews that had the reputations of bringing the party. And when sound sequence and you guys were Legion of Boom, that's when you knew, oh, it's time to step up, and you need other crews to join you. Almost like Voltron. You have to get your own crews
Right.
to meet up with, and I think we learned that from Burt and his guys.
Yeah, and then the interesting thing about that is a lot of people that do like alliances in the city, it's like neighborhood. It'd be like, oh, I'm from the Sunset, you're from the Mission. So I think what was unique about us is we looked at it from a geographical perspective of the Bay Area. We had Fremont, Union City, Daly City, South City covered. And then later on, Rick kind of carried the torch from SBC as part of Legion of Boom.
And it sounds like you guys got along, and it seems like a lot of people got along, and it seems like you guys are still helping each other out and still friends and stuff like that. I mean, was there some beef between certain crews and stuff like that, or?
That's you, John, because you from rough and tough, magazine. You magazine
street. Vallejo has this reputation, right? And our crew, if you look at our picture, we looked arrogant, and we probably were arrogant, and we had big dudes too, and they were pretty intimidating, even in biker shorts. It didn't matter. You wear black and yellow biker shorts, and you'd be scared as hell of them. Though.
You had the UFC look, you had the MMA look with the biker shorts.
I mean, look, we got guys with no shirt under their jackets. My brother Aaron Martinez, he's got his yellow biker shorts on. But we had swag before there was swag. And we got challenged a lot. And we did a lot, though. I mean, like, we played football against other crews, other cities.
Yep.
We got in a lot of trouble in different parties, even in Vallejo. There was so much beef going on in Vallejo at the time. And then we took a lot of the shine. So it was like we were that arrogant group, but we didn't care. And we backed it up, whether it was just breakdancing or even fighting or whatever. I mean, we drove some nice cars. We're damn suburb kids thinking, thinking we were the shit. But we ran it for a while. And then we got, you get brought back down to earth. But it was a good time.
You know what's funny, since you're bringing up like, kind of like a gangster style group. Growing up in the Mission, the late 70s and the early 80s, there was an influx of a lot of Filipinos migrating to the U.S. Today, they'd be in their mid-50s to early 60s. And these are guys that started gangbanging. And I think DJing saved me from that kind of lifestyle, because in the Mission, like the Natoma area, Cannon Kip, Alamany area, Geneva area, there was a lot of Filipino gangs. And those same people would go to my parents' video store, and they see me and they're like, they were teenagers, older teenagers. They're asking what I claim, are you B&G? Are you Vigilante? Are you? No, I'm Mystical Legacy. I don't want anything but, play music. So I was cool with everyone, I mean, other gangbangers that I see in the streets, they see me about, leave him alone. He's a music guy, Yeah.
In the book Legions of Boom, they talked about the gang culture at the time. Did any of you guys have any run-ins with gangs?
We our jackets were pretty famous, but there was a group I
kind of want a jacket though. I'm like, damn.
But yeah, if you didn't know, and I'm sure the guys in the chat, Union City had a famous gang, ABTs. Wow. And they had jackets, and it said Union City down in a V down their jacket. And we got jackets too. I mean, I'm not going to say we copied them or not, but we got jackets. And I mean, they came all the way to a gig in the city just to run up on us and try to start some shit. And we're like, yeah, and it's like, so the reputation just kind of built. And, that's my brother Frank right there. He passed away in 89. But when he passed, the DJing for us, subsided, and guys found other things to do. But yeah, we got in a lot of funk just because of, like I was talking about, our swag and our arrogance and whatnot. So, but we were young. What else are you going to do? You're going to try to meet girls. You're going to try to take other guys as girls. You're going to fight for those girls. And that's what went down a lot.
Yeah.
You should have just traded jackets at the 50-yard line. What the fuck's going on, man?
Jersey swap. Yeah, but they didn't DJ, right? Those guys in units.
No, but because of Norm and Francisco being in Fremont and Union City, we kind of got the pass, like and I was always a big proponent of, and I told Rick this, like, you got to be like Switzerland, man. And he's like, what are you talking about, bro? I was like, you got to be neutral, man, because you're going to be on these flyers with a date and time. So if somebody wants to run up on you, that they could prepare. They could be like, yo, I hate that motherfucker Burt. He's going to be at Just for Fun on December 6th. Let's get this shit ready. And if he ain't there, we can at least destroy his equipment, which happened a few times. Not to us, but I've seen it happen.
It happened to us.
Okay, see, so that's why we try to keep it, just cool, chill, have more of like a party vibe and like just, everyone can have a good time,
Yeah. So let's go on to the events that everyone always talks about back then. Imagine
this older white man who was a real estate investor that had a lot of money, and he threw these parties specifically for Filipino youth. There's no social media, there's nothing. So you're looking at these flyers. He would probably print a few thousand flyers, and he would have this team to kind of canvas every nightclub, every DJ group involved. You got Midstar, our group Sound Sequence, Beyond the Limit, 3D, and Sounds of Erotic Ecstasy from Vallejo. This was our battle. This was the battle that kind of like, our first Super Bowl kind of victory that kind of just like catapulted us, into kind of like the next level. But anyway, so imagine he would surround himself with beautiful girls to kind of attract all the guys to go to these things. He's a very smart businessman. I think he was in real estate, and he would hold it at different halls. But specifically, I think the main one was Irish Center in San Francisco, which is kind of near the San Francisco Zoo. And when we talk about battles, this is a lot different than battling like how battling is now or DMC and things like that. Each group had their own area that they would set up their equipment. So you would bring equipment, sound, light, whatever, your show. If you wanted to have, a guy play guitar, if you wanted to have an MC. So it was a full production. And it was unlike anything else like today. I don't know how to describe it. Anybody that was into DJing in the Bay Area, that was like it. That was kind of, I guess, the pinnacle for people to come see DJs battle, meet people from all over California, to have a good time and just experience things. Because again, there's no social media. Commercial radio did not play any of the music that we played, whether it was rap, whether it was dance music, whether it was new wave. Commercial radio was just playing, I don't know, Journey or something, just really, really bland shit at that time. So a lot of people came out to, just kind of get like schooled on shit, even if you were just a regular party goer or if you were a DJ, just to be like, fuck, I want to see what these people are doing. Because like I said, nobody knew what anybody was doing until you would go to a gig. You had no camera phones, nothing. So a lot of people coming up would learn from that too. That's a pretty big deal.
Tell them about your mix. That's it. I told Burt offline one time that it was like a game changer. The sound sequence mix that they did, it was a next level mix.
Because I think so. We always kind of just strive to do things different, and like I said, at that time it was a DJ crew. It wasn't a DJ. So a lot of people were doing 4 turntables, so that it would be 2 DJs. One would control a set and the other would control a set. Some people did 6, but I don't think that ever worked out, right? Because it's just so, it just doesn't sound good. So I think a lot of people took approach to that as like, okay, we're going to do 4 and we'll do it like a 4-track mixer. So when I talk about a 4-track mixer, you have 4 channels that you could play simultaneously, right? So I think a lot of people approach 4 turntables that way. So we kind of approached it differently from a standpoint of we only had one really, really talented DJ, and that was Roland, the Devastator. And the rest of us were good, but we weren't great. So how do you do a 4 turntable? And I joke about, because my cousin did one, and he said, I did a 4 turntable. I said, yeah, 3 were on beat and 1 was off. So you got 1 off beat. That shit fucking sucks. you know?
You're over.
Yeah. So, so how are we going to do it? So what we came up with this concept of kind of the quick mix, but one person just controls the beat in the background. So meaning one person just plays the continuous beat to do the loop, because again, you're using the turntables to loop the beat.
Yeah.
And instead of a chorus, we use Planet Rock, and we use kind of like that synthesizer where it goes dun, 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 dun. And then after every dun, 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 it would be a new song. So that's kind of like the bridge, right?
Yeah.
So it'd be like dun, 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 dun. And it'd be like some Lisa, Lisa. Dun, 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 dun. Be like no Sarah, right? But I think the bigger thing that John is referring to is, I don't know if like we invented it, like, but we kind of came up, doing these weddings and doing all these Filipino debuts and these gigs. You would always play everything. You would have to play for the old people and the young people. So we knew all of our 50s music, all of our boogie, all of our cha-cha. So it's like, we were versed in like all those and the BPMs and what would match. So we were like, why don't we just try? At the time, I think Stand By Me, that movie had came out. So it was really big, that Benny King song. So we're like, why don't we overlay Benny King over Planet Rock? So we kind of did that. And then we did that. And then we did the Drifters. And then we did Buddy Holly. So it became this big, like, let's just do 50s over Planet Rock, which I don't know if that's like considered the first mashup or whatever, but it may have been the first mashup, because prior to that, everybody was just doing a cappella over the beat. We're like, because when you buy a 12-inch single, it would have, instrumental, a cappella. So you could just like, take the a cappella and do that. So I don't know if we were the first, but I think we may have been the first to actually like present it to a bigger audience.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure there's people in their bedrooms that probably thought the same thing, but they didn't get like the pub, that we got. And I think that's the one that kind of like put us on the map. And I don't know if other people kind of like followed that, but and again, that was a collective thing. Like as a crew, we would all come together to kind of like it wouldn't be like, oh, Roland, you go fucking do the mix. Bye. We're going to go out. Like we all sit together, do it. We used to challenge ourselves at gigs, just like regular gigs, where it would be, Roland would play a song, and then he would mix it, and then he'd be like, you're next. It would be almost like basketball, and you pass it. And it'd be, so you would want to try and fuck up the next guy with a crazy ass song. Like, oh, if I throw in Stand By Me, how the fuck is Burt going to be able to mix out of that? And I think that's like how a lot of like our stuff came, is like just kind of like juxtaposing things and learning just like structures of music, and like, whoa, that actually fucking worked. Like, how the fuck did that shit work? Yeah. And we kind of like stumbled on it.
For these battles, like how long were you guys practicing? Like how?
Oh, it was like months, homie. It was like months.
Yeah.
After school.
You're building mixes, and then a new song will come out, and you got to find a way to put that new song in. Yeah. And you're only using 8 beats of it because you're using it in a quick mix.
I mean, you'd have a stack. You'd have a stack like that high of records.
Yep. And did you guys go to all this? Did your crew all go to the same high school?
Oh, no. I mean, we went to El Camino. I mean, I went to South San Francisco High School. Roland went to El Camino High School. Okay. So we were still like Daly City, South City.
So was it hard? How was it hard? It was hard then for you guys to get together and practice then, right? You guys had to. Were you guys driving by then?
Yeah, we were all driving by then.
Okay.
We all did it at like this guy Nick Burko's house. Like his parents were really, really nice. They let us like just take the whole garage over, and I can't say enough about the Burko family. Like without them, we probably wouldn't be able to do what we were able to do at that time. Sound check in the garage, do smoke machines and lighting in the garage where it looked like the fire department once came to their house because the neighbors thought their house was on fire because we were testing the fog machines in the garage, but we didn't know that the fog was seeping out of the seams of the door. The neighbors thought the shit was on fire. So I mean, these are the type of things, as you look back and you're like, fuck. I mean, I'm sure Henry and they got some stories like, if our kids did the shit that we did, I would be pissed off.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Or stealing, stealing lights.
Yeah.
We used to steal lights.
We won't talk about
that. The
we won't talk about
sound
driving around Vallejo and looking for cop cars.
You guys talked about sabotage. So we were DJing.
shit.
Bert, what's that hall on San Pedro in Daly City? It's like
you're talking about the one by the courthouse?
Well, we did a gig there.
El Camino.
And, yeah, we did a gig there, and
cultural something.
In the middle of the party, someone shut out all the lights, shut down all the lights, and it was pitch black. And this was like an hour and a half into the gig, and when the lights came back on, our beacons were gone. So the only thing we were left with were the oscillators moving heads.
Damn,
that's some orchestrated shit right there.
Yeah. Well, you're Bert. So at Imagine 5, Rok-A-Long was there. We had friends in Sex, Sounds of Erotic Ecstasy.
Right.
We knew a lot of their DJs, and they had a drummer, Dion Datu, rest in peace. He was like drumming their background, and then the DJ would mix in there. But we were also with 3D, Third Dimensional Sounds. And those guys, DJ Sunny, dope ass DJ from Hercules.
Yep.
He was like in his garage 24/7, just mixing and scratching. He worked his ass off for that Imagine. And we were there a lot at his practices. And his power went out like 4 different times. Right in the middle of his set. I don't know if you remember that, but
I remember that because people thought
so
that
bad
we did
for
it.
him. I know.
I mean, that's the other thing. I mean, this was part of kind of like my thing. So you do a site survey before every fucking gig. So I fucking went there the day before to find out where the circuit breakers are. And I'm like, yo, we're going to run 4 amps. I'm not running 4 amps off one fucking circuit breaker.
Yeah.
So we spread out our power, and you got to do it strategically from a standpoint of like, okay, what circuit is this on? Who has access to it? So you want it on separate. And if it's lighting, that's okay to have it where someone, if they pull the plug, you just fucking run over there and put the plug back in. So the lighting goes all the way out. Lighting is always all the way out. Sound you would want to keep central to where you're DJing so you can control it, because if the sound goes off. And then secondary was like, okay, so are the bass amps going to be the priority, or are the mids and the highs? And I'm always like, well, mids, because that's where most of your sound comes out of. So if shit went off, as long as we got the mids going, then you're cool. So, I mean, you got to, like, there's a lot of things that you got to think about. And I think, maybe with Sunny, I don't know who did the sound or whatever, maybe they didn't think about those things. And, it's an old building in San Francisco. Henry knows, man. Shit, I don't know when that building was built. So you got to like do your research. It's not just being the best at DJ. You got to be the best at the light. You got to be the best at, setting up the speakers. There's a lot of things going into that. And, the biggest thing that didn't make it is we had built a volcano. Again, probably short-sightedness. I don't know if it was on me. It didn't fit in the fucking door. So like it was gonna be dope. We had this Godzilla. We had this Godzilla and a volcano that we made out of paper mache, and we put the light in the inside of the volcano, and we had the fog machine coming out of it. It was fucking ill. It was like some Disneyland shit, right? So we get to the gig, fuck, it don't fit through the fucking door. Cause I was into sound. That wasn't my. I made sure the sound didn't go off, but the volcano didn't make it, man.
What was crazy is your guys' setup was right in the corner. You didn't have the center stage. Yeah. You didn't, you weren't off to the longer part of the hall. You're right in the corner.
Yeah.
So you're not angled, and you guys like.
Yeah, we didn't get the best, because it goes back to Mark Bradford. So I'm not going to go into detail, but with Mark Bradford, if you kind of showed him, if you were a good guy, a nice person to him, he probably like help you out a little bit. Mm-hmm. Again, I told our crew, he wanted to meet us at Peppermill in Daly City. Like, hey man, we're not taking anything from this guy. Like, we're going to go there, we'll meet with him. So we sit there, we went 8 deep, and it was him and like a few girls, probably like 10, 15 people. What are you guys gonna have? You know, hey, peppermint was kind of good back then. You know, it wasn't like Denny's, like water. So it was all water. We all drank water, and they're like, why? I was like, because if anybody fucking asks us, what did he buy you guys dinner? I was like, nah, man, we just had fucking water. And so that's probably why we got stuck in the corner, because we just ordered water.
So I just want to emphasize to people, I know Carry On mentioned this in the previous SIPnJAM. So for a lot of these showcases, you weren't judged just on your DJing, you're just judged on the whole overall show, right? Like the lights, the sound, the mixing, maybe even like, I don't know, the performance, because I've heard like there were like beatboxers, there were rappers, there were dancers. Did you guys have dancers or anything? It was just, or is like, it was more about the lights and the sound and the mixing.
I don't know. I forgot. I think we had some girls on the Quakes. That was the thing. Like, so you know how like people talk about having girls in cages or whatever, or we had the girls on the Quakes. So you lay down the the bass cabinets and kind of like stand on that. Yeah. But speaking of Carry On Kid, he probably had one of the sickest unlimited sounds. Probably one of the dopest ass kind of setups. Theirs was a big boombox, and the tuner part, where you would put the radio station, is where Carry On Kid was DJing. That's next level shit. You know, for some kids to make that shit is dope.
That's dope. And they're all in white, like Backstreet Boys.
I don't know how you set up.
What up, Anthony? Love you, brother.
How the hell you set up equipment and stay that clean? Shit.
I know.
What? Hey, tell us your secret, Carry On.
That was mind blowing. Like, and that's where like I got inspired to go like, yo, we can't just have fucking lights. So we had, we built that. I think we were able to put the airbrush wave. So we had like a wave. It was supposed to be like an island theme, like, I don't know, it's kind of corny, but
it was hella corny, but it worked. Because Godzilla sounds. He had Godzilla sounds going on.
Godzilla made it in. Just because then we had that Godzilla sound. I don't know how to make that sound. Where he like.
Imagine if the volcano got in.
Yeah. If we had the volcano, it would have been like crazy.
So you won Imagine 5, and Rok-A-Long won Imagine 8, correct?
Yeah. I think I judged that.
You were one of the judges? Yeah. We were dope. Give it up. You give it up.
So center stage, though. Didn't you have center stage?
We had center stage, and but we had a dope ass. We didn't have too many cameramen back in the day, but if we had that video, it would have been sick.
So did you order prime rib at Peppermint?
I went to 0 dinners at Denny's or wherever. 0.
You had a steak dinner at Palby's.
Oh, damn. No, not me. Rest in peace. But
so yeah, tell us about your setup. What did you guys come up with for Imagine 8?
So it was dope because we had like I think 8 Quakes in the front of the stage. So we had the stage. So we had the level. So we on the bottom of the floor with all the Quakes, and then we had our graffiti artist from Vallejo, Roger Hernandez, dope ass burner. He would make like some really nice designs, and he built us a spray paint of the city with the pyramid building, and then he had a bunch of B-boys in the background, and it was us and in our jackets, and it was dope because you'd have that like pointing up to the sky. You had the truss bar going across, the lunar balls, and then to top it off, everybody was more into hip hop, I think, at the time. And so we had rappers, but we brought female rappers out, and they were double L, Lisa and Lorelai, who were like sisters to us. That we had them rap to start off our show, and then we had the guys in the biker shorts dancing on the subwoofers too. But we just put on a really good show, and right in the corner, I think we battled against SIPnTronics. So SIPnTronics, when Cuba was there too at the same time.
Yeah, so it's SIPnTronics, Imperial Sounds, Images, Starlight Sensations, Divine Beat, Rok-A-Long.
Yeah. but it was really us versus SIPnJAM.
Yeah.
Because SIPnJAM was huge in Daly City at the time. And we knew that they were kind of our competition. So the one sabotage story I would tell about our Imagine is not really sabotage, but we had our sound rack right in the middle because we wanted the lights to look good and all the levels going on. But our cassette tape was also right there. And we recorded our set.
That's a no-no.
And it was gone after the night.
Mm.
Somebody took our tape, and then somebody said it was Mini Beats from SIPnJAM. So I don't know if anybody could confirm Mini Beats. He's not Mini now these days, but I've never met Mini Beats. I don't know if you guys know who he was back in the day. He was a young kid that would beatbox for them.
Oh.
No, but he was a little kid. You know, at Imagines, it wasn't like 21 and up. It's, I don't know what, 12 and up, 13 and up. You could be there, even at the hotel gigs. But our tape.
That's crazy. I never heard that story.
Yeah,
I never heard that story. That's crazy.
It did pop up eventually, and I think we have a copy somewhere. I'll put it on. If I can get it, I'll digitize that thing in.
So DJ Newton was asking. I don't think you sent me a picture of your setup, though, right?
No, I couldn't find one. It's out there somewhere, but I gotta find it.
Yeah, you know, like in battles, it's a big no-no. Like, I don't know, in the city, I know Henry will be like, yeah, you can't have a tape deck anywhere near your shit because you would get like, oh, they're fucking playing a tape.
Accused of playing a tape.
Yeah, like you got to play the tape. So that's why a lot of the shit is like Davy Jones Locker. Like there's fucking no history of shit because everyone wanted to be secret and everybody wanted to be like, yo, legit. Like, nah, dude, there's no way that you could point a finger at me and say we were playing a tape, even though you had a tape deck in your rack and it was empty. You know what I mean? So at a gig, no. The other thing I think too, that which is like kind of counter to what people do now, there was no mix. We didn't believe in mixtapes because you don't want people biting your shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't want people copying your shit. And then I think for you guys it's different, John, because like, you know, you are the one out there, but in the city there were so many different crews. I mean, almost every block had a DJ crew. So, I mean, we had counted. There was probably like over 100 just different DJ crews within Daly City, South City, San Francisco. So you didn't want to like put your shit out there. It was like almost like, nah, dude, don't, you know, you may give it to a girl because they asked, but it'd be like, yo, come on, man. Come on, I told you, no, don't even get to that girl, dude. You can't be recording this shit.
But nobody's gonna bite the Planet Rock because they already know you guys trademarked that, right?
I know, but that's just how we felt about it, though.
It's
like,
other stuff too. I mean, like we did one gig one time, and we were kind of set up because we thought we were the only DJs that were going to be there, and Style Beyond Compare was there, and it turned into a battle, and we weren't battle ready. You know, you talk about. Burton talked about practicing earlier, like, you know, a couple of months. I mean, this was like same night we find out there's another DJ and they were mixing their battle material, you know. And
so that's a quote unquote showcase.
Yeah. And what's embarrassing was we had this one guy who was not part of our crew. I'm not going to say his name, but there was a beatbox tape going around that got pretty popular. I think his name's Oscar. He was beatboxing for Unlimited Sounds, and he had that routine where he did the Cookie Monster. Remember that?
Yep.
So you know that was a new thing then. And then the guy that wasn't even affiliated with our group, he gets on the mic and does the exact same beatbox as Oscar, and it's like. From there, I mean, everyone knew us as biters because of some guy that wasn't even part of our crew.
That's not good.
Yeah.
That's like the worst thing.
You got to vet your people, man.
Just like
Burt didn't vet the dude from New York.
I know. He was dope, but it's just like
he was ahead of his time.
Yeah, you know, it's like,
It's like Back to the Future when he shows up and plays. Yeah, when he played.
Yeah, when he did he did the Chuck Berry. They were ready for Chuck Berry.
Yeah. So, were there any other memorable battles, or showcases that pop up in your guys' mind? For instance, the Ladies of Love tour in '88.
We were able to spin for. We were openers for some of those events. That Fort Mason one was huge.
That was huge.
Yeah. We did a showcase. We did a showcase in Stockton for Imagine, and it was
Brian Thompson.
It was like cover girls and all that. They showed up.
Yeah, you have the flyer. I think I gave it to you.
Yeah,
which one is that one?
It should be one. Yeah, right there it is. That's one of them. That I don't know if you were in that one. That may have been before yours, but that's you got NWA. You got MC Hammer.
Yeah,
that's Dan Antronics. That's another thing we could talk about later. But yeah, I know what you're talking about. That's Brian Sampson. Go ahead, John. Sorry.
No, those were good times to be able to be in those circles, right? And just that was at their infancy too. Like they weren't even, they were just doing Fuck the Police and all that stuff too, right?
You got Rodney L. Who else is on there? Yeah. So MC Fly is Brian Sampson, who now works for Empire Records in San Francisco.
Yeah.
So he's big still in the game. He never left, music. So there's a lot of people that kind of translated the DJing into music, as a music career. Whether you talk about Francisco in our thing, Legion of Boomed Images, he did Buffy, Spintronics with Jocelyn Enriquez, with Classified Records and things like that. And then my homie Automator, Dan the Automator, was kind of what he's doing now. The funny thing about Dan and me, when we started the record label, was we kind of got out of DJing because of Qbert and Shortcut, All Mike and all them, because it was like, fuck, we can't compete with these motherfuckers. These motherfuckers are fucking on another level. So what are we going to do? Oh, maybe we should make music, make records, And we came out with, I think, one of the first like DJ Tool records, The Music to Be Murdered By, which had like samples that you could scratch with from the perspective of DJs making records in the Bay Area. I mean, other areas did that, but I think we were kind of like the first to do that. And it's just because primarily, like I said, like, these young kids coming up were so good. And they just, Alex Aquino managing them, were powerful, man. And their legacy still lives on today with turntablism. The Filipino DJs like Miles Medina, he wins a lot of stuff. You go to any like Vegas nightclub, with E-Rock or Romeo, they all have roots to where we're from, whether it's like Henry's group or, John's. It's like it all started here, which I don't know if, the book does it justice, but I want to say like how like they talk about religion and stuff being like the fertilization of, religion or whatever. I would say Daly City, San Francisco is where it all started, and you can include, Vallejo, San Jose, Union City, but San Francisco, Henry and what he was going through, it was very competitive, and, the legacy still lives on through a lot of those guys, that I talked about, which is kind of amazing, like to think that, people like Nonstop Boogie, he's talking about, and, GDG, Vicious V, all those guys like inspired us, and then we inspired other people. And then, we're probably going, we're like on third or fourth generation of people that started, that are doing it as a career because it was just a hobby for us to like get girls and make money to, customize your car and shit,
Buy more records, buy more equipment.
GDG, to me, he's like he's still one of the best DJs that I know, just because of the way, his thought process. He's always going to come out with stuff that you never thought of. A lot of people now today DJ, and they're DJing for the crowd, meaning so they just play like top 40 or whatever's the popular shit. They play for what people want to hear, right? Whereas I think when we DJ'd as a kind of extension of ourselves, you know, and kind of like where we came from, what type of, you know, whether we were skaters, whether we were breakers. And it may have been a combination of all those things, but it was an extension of the people and how we felt inside. It wasn't to get more likes or followers, you know. I couldn't give a shit about that. If I cleared the floor and I played what I wanted to play, that's it. I was educating people. That's how I felt. I felt like I was educating people, not you know, having people, you know, just playing for the masses. You know, it's like, yo, people came to see us to hear shit new, to hear shit different, right? We were breaking records, you know. We weren't like following what's hot in the club. You know, we were the club. But now that's why people go out. They're like, oh, can you play my song? I played it an hour ago. Can you play it again? You know, it's like, no, I don't think I would ever play a song. We would never play the same song.
So how was it back then too? Like during that time, like you guys with, I guess, record hunting and all that and trying to find, you know, how was that process for you guys?
Come on, Henry.
We never got in a record pool. Who got in a record pool? Because we never got one.
No, there was no record pool for us. I mean, it was creative music or streetlight records and saving a lot of our lunch money or using the gig money, you know, to buy back records and lights or other equipment. But going back to what Burton was saying about, you know, playing for yourself, we did a high school dance. I can't remember if it was St. Paul's or it might have been ICA in San Francisco. It's a Catholic high school, girls' school. And, you know, the nuns are chaperoning. And we made a mistake of playing The Roof is on Fire because, you know, the chorus, we don't need no water, let the motherfucker burn.
You can't do that.
Can't do that in a Catholic school. I had the nuns up on stage so fast, they shut us down.
I believe that.
And at that time, you know, like what you said, you're not thinking about, you know, where you're at. You're just grooving to the music, right?
Yeah.
So we're playing, and you know, all of a
funny.
sudden the nuns come up. Hey,
did they pull the plug or they just lift the needle? What they do?
Oh, they all. There was about 4 nuns that went on stage, and they were waving at us. No, turn it off.
3 rings. So he put Castro Street. And I think that's something that needs to be said. Like back in the day, we used to go to all the gay things because they actually like were doing all the new stuff in dance music. I'm not talking about hip hop, but for dance music, we'd have to go to Castro Street to buy the records, you know, whether it be Ron's records, Aloha records, things like that. And the crazy thing too is like, you know, I wouldn't want John to know what I was playing. That would be like kind of like secret, like, yo, dude, don't stand behind me, you know, like, yo, dude, nah, you know. I mean, and then the other thing within a crew, like how Henry was talking about, you know, people getting jealous and things like that. If you bought the record, you would be hella mad if some other dude played the shit. You know, you'd be like, nah, I bought that record. That's my fucking record, homie. Shit, you know?
Yeah. And one thing I heard too is people would put tape over their record title so you wouldn't know. Yeah. Cool.
And you city boys are cutthroat, man. We didn't have to deal with that.
Because there's like five DJ groups in Vallejo or something at the time or something. It was like I was telling you, there was like one on every block, dude. It was basically if there was a group of friends, there were a DJ group. So imagine if within one high school you might have 5 to 10 DJ groups within one high school. How many high schools in San Francisco? You know, and that's why it was like really competitive, and you know you really had to think outside the box and like, yo, what can I do to separate our group from so and so's group? And that's why I think a lot of, you know, like I say, the DJing culture is so big here because it was so competitive and it only made everybody better. Yeah. You know, I don't think we thought that way at that time because we were kids and it was more like, fuck that fucker, you know? But actually, that fucker made me better and that fucker made you better. You know what I mean? So it's kind of dope, you know? Like now that I look at it, I'm older, I can look at it. But at that time, it was more like, nah, man.
Yeah.
You know, like, nah, man. Like, like, don't come back here, you know?
Yeah.
No, iron sharpened iron at the time, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
For sure.
definitely. What were the differences between living in the Mission, Daly City, South City, and the suburbs?
I mean, I think, you know, from being in Daly City, South City, we're not that removed. I mean, it's like, you know, a car, like, you could walk. I mean, you could take, you know, Soundtrans. But I think the advantage that we did have over, you know, like someone from like Henry living in the Mission is space, right? Space, like he's talked about, you know, someone driving a car, you got to store the fucking equipment too. If Henry is living in like some old, you know, Mission Street, you know, 1,200 square foot house with a 1-car garage, and your dad already got his car in there, where the fuck are you gonna put your shit at? You know, there's another crew that was telling me stories about like they had it everywhere, in their living room, and, you know, everywhere. But I mean, that's the thing. And then also, I think, you know, maybe our parents had a little bit more money to actually say, hey, I can see you're actually making money, so we'll help you with your thing. You know, like, you know, whether it's like, you know, renting a Hertz truck or whatever, we'll put down the card, things like that. You know, we had a little bit more, I guess, resources to kind of help us with that. Whereas I think some of the city guys, they didn't have that, you know, some of the resources that we had.
Yeah.
John's like me.
I'm the only suburb guy, Vallejo.
You got 2,000 square foot house and shit.
Yeah, we had backyards too for days. That was the thing, is we could practice our Imagine set in our backyard.
Because they got no fog either.
Yeah. So we had those that going for us. But yeah, but being in the in Vallejo, all our record shopping had to be in the city. You know, we're not buying stuff online, or we had to go to the city and cross the bridge, cross 2 bridges, and but we did it because we found out all the same spots that a lot of the other guys were buying stuff at. So
for sure,
those are good times, man. Getting pizza on the way home, blondies.
Yeah,
you don't do that anymore.
Henry, anything?
We had equipment in Daly City, in San Francisco, and top of the hill. Yeah, because, you know, all that stuff couldn't be stored at, you know, in one person's house. Yeah. And it was vital. It was important to have drivers in our crew, and mostly you know, mini truck drivers. I mean, mini trucks were in back then, and, you know, we needed one truck for just the crates of records, another one for the speakers, another one for the lighting, and you know, so on. But yeah, it was a challenge. I mean, we practiced it both in Daly City and San Francisco, my house, and then Alan Lopez's house. So.
Hey, JR, I'm going to tell you a story, because I don't think Gary would ever come on this type of shit, but you know, I'm pretty close with Gary, and one of his stories, this is a great story. So, you know, I'm Chinese. Most of my friends were Filipino at the time. So I mean, and in the Filipino culture, it's like after a gig, we all go eat. You know, we all go to Denny's or whatever, and whatever money we pay for the gig goes to Denny's first, right? Like, 'cause you got to feed everybody. Even if you were part of the group, you probably helped carry some shit. You get a free meal. So this is what Gary had told me. He was all like, "Wow, man, I wish I was fucking in your crew, because you know what we used to do?" And I'm like, "What the fuck did you used to do?" So the guy that used to like be the business guy was Jose Olimpiada. They had this thing where everybody would bring a can of soup, and they would put the fucking everybody's can in one fucking pot. So if I brought clam chowder and your ass brought fucking vegetable noodle, it was going in the same pot. And I said, "Oh my God, that's like some goddamn, like some concentration camp shit. Like, wow, I can't believe you guys did that shit." He's like, "Well, that's the sacrifices we had to make, because again, it's like Henry, you know, like John and I, you know, being in the suburbs, you know, we had a little bit more kind of like income from our parents, or a little bit more support and more space, you know." So I'm not saying we were like spoiled rich, because we were not rich at all, but you know, we still just had a little bit more than some other groups had. And when I heard that story, I was like, "Whoa, that's horrible, man!" Like, see, look at John's like, "Damn, I wouldn't do that shit."
But that's what they did. The people from the suburbs actually had more equipment. Like we did a lot of collaboration with Sound Invasion. Chris,
Will T.
Will Thrower. and right now it's Mike One. Well,
Yeah.
all of them formed Almighty DJs. I'm
Yeah.
retired now, but I can still claim or represent Almighty DJs. But yeah, that trickled from Sound Invasion, and you know, we did a lot of collaborations with them because, you know, unlike the groups from the suburbs, you know, they're a Cortland group, so you know, no one really had equipment, so it was a lot of borrowing and a lot of collaborations between the two groups. But look at even though Sound Invasion didn't have much, you know, they made a name for themselves.
So just for fun, it seemed like, you know, that was like another, I guess, production company that put on a lot of events. Was it just mainly showcases, or?
That was all showcases. Is this Solano County College?
Solano Community College.
So that's Fairfield. So that would be the equivalent of Skyline College or City College, but for out there, like where John's from. And to me, those were like the best parties because it was like neutral territory where everyone would go and just have fun. I don't recall anything jumping off hella bad, and it was not a battle. You know, it was just everyone just showcasing. So what a showcase would, very similar to a battle. Let's say if you had 3 groups, you'd have north, south, and maybe west. So they would cover a building, right? So everyone would bring their own setups, which was kind of cool. We did a lot, but the one that stuck out to me the most was when we invited Swartz and Apollo to kind of take over our set and do the Peter Piper routine. You know, Run DMC, Peter Piper. They did a 14 table routine that, like, if they did that today, they could probably win some battles. But if you can imagine back then, you know, we're talking like 1987, the shit that they were doing, it was like groundbreaking. It was like whoa, it was like mind blowing. I don't know. Were you at? You know what I'm talking about, John? Were you at that?
Oh
game?
yeah. Well, the thing is Mike Schwartz is first cousins with our DJ Ray, so they were always working together and doing stuff together, and that was one of my, you know, one of our bros is Mike, and just to be able to see them come all the way from the city, they're city boys, come out to hang out with us in our East Bay, North Bay. It's like you had to go.
That's definitely the
retirement. To see what
set.
guys were doing.
That put me into retirement after I seen that shit. That's a retirement set. You know, it's like, yo, man, I can't fucking compete with that shit. You know, it would be, it was like just shit that even if it was a video game, I couldn't imagine it. You know, like, you know, people talk about kind of like the 4 disciplines of b-boying, you know, like breaking, graffiti, MCing, and DJing. That to me was the height of DJing. Even these New York cats, they ain't got nothing on Mike and Apollo and Q and all those guys that from our era. That's my house. So if you look at the window where I'm at right here, this is it. Same thing. You see this pillar? That's the pillar right there. I'm sitting in that. That's my room in probably like 1986. Look at that cologne there. I don't know if that's like Drakkar. I don't know what cologne that is.
You look like Polo. You look like Polo.
Okay, maybe it's Polo. You know, I got the JVC radio. See, and here's the thing too. You see the on the right, the cup. I was probably drinking some alcoholic beverage, and you see the New Edition 45, and then you see Motley Crue. So that's the thing. Like, we all listen to all types of music. It wasn't like, oh, I'm just a trap DJ. I'm just a house DJ. I just play EDM. We had to play it all.
Yeah.
You know, like everything. You know, we didn't have at our fingertips like today, you know, thousands of MP3s at our fingertips. We only had whatever you brought to the gig. And if you brought like, you know, 4 crates, that's all you got. So that's the other thing you have to do before a gig is, you know, scope it out and think about, okay, this is what crowd's going to be like. You had to like, you know, get your records together. I would kind of like tell people, it's like, you know, if you were like a marksman, you have to get your ammo. You got to look at what ammo I'm going to bring to the gig, because if you don't have the right ammo, you ain't going to kill it, you know?
Bro, did you bring that workstation to your gigs, or is that just for that? Because that would suck.
Did you
that
build
was a heavy ass fucking coffin. So I think that's why it just ended up staying at my house, because it was just, we built it and it looked all dope, you know, but it wasn't practical. The crazy thing is, you see what it's lifted on the, like, if you look on the right, that's a fucking 50 caliber ammo. We used to have the ammo stack 50 caliber machine gun things to hold our shit.
Is that sitting on bricks too?
Yeah, and
cinder blocks are below that, and then
Block.
it's like it's the ammo cans on top.
Oh man.
But yeah, I mean it was crazy. I don't know. Sorry, dude. Like I talk too much, but
Dude, that's tough. That's what we had to do.
Yeah.
Under 18 years old, trying to put this kind of stuff together. It's just steal wood from the local suburb that's getting built, take wood from there so we could build lights or DJ coffins and
yeah.
Oh, yeah. Carry on says.
Where's that radio, man? You need that radio today.
You know what's crazy? I found that radio when I was working at some Shoe Palace Converse thing, and they did a bunch of old radios for the wall of the back of the store.
Yeah.
And I said, I want that fucking radio. And they're like, why? I was like, because I had that when I was a kid. So they must have bought it. So I have it now in my office. It's great.
That's sick.
Wow.
That's so dope. Wow. One thing I always notice on a lot of the flyers, it always says Imagine. Was that just basically a shout out to Imagine, or was it like Imagine putting all these events?
I think because he had that much pull.
Yeah.
That if you didn't give him a shout out, you would be on quote unquote the blacklist.
Was Arlene giving him shout outs?
Yeah,
for
Arlene was cool. Like AA, she was cool with him. There's a guy that they tried to throw a gig in the Benicia Clock Tower. What was those guys? Do you remember, John? And
George did one with Star Promotions. George Santos, he did his.
Yeah, I just remember, like, I was told by Mark, like, you guys can't go there, but I still went there. I'm like,
Man.
you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
and they
I
had
do
like
now.
they had a dope flyer too. Like their flyer was like anime. It was very similar to the Just for Fun, but it was like guys in black suits. But like those guys got shut down.
It's D-Boyz, right?
Yes.
That's
Hold
it.
on.
So they try to do something. You know, they weren't cool with Mark or whatever. You know, that's different. That's not our business.
They were all good dudes.
Oh, it happened to Imagine, but I think in the end it was like, yo, you can't go there.
Hey, there was another one, Burton. I think Destiny.
Yeah,
The Destiny
You're right.
Flyers.
that's SF though, right? Definitely.
Yeah.
So he tried to basically monopolize the shit, like any type of business person. It's not no different than anything else. You know how like IG and you know Facebook does their shit. It's the same thing. You know, like it's as old as prostitution. It's fucking the same thing, man.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think this is the only flyer that I've seen of D-Boyz. So basically, after that, they didn't put on any other events because
No, I think he shut their shit down.
Yeah.
I think what really like killed all this shit, like you know, like the whole kind of you know cruise thing, is people started going migrating to clubs. You know, it wasn't rent a hall.
Yep.
People got older, so they wanted to drink. At these halls, there was no alcohol unless you snuck it in, like John. You know, like all those Vallejo motherfuckers, they sneak everything in. Shit.
We got to show our ghetto.
That motherfuckers was ghetto. You know,
City
they
night
were like
crowd.
They were like E40. But I mean, that's why like you see that City Nights flyer and things like that. I think people started throwing parties like at clubs, and then that's when it became not the DJ crew, and it became the DJ. You don't need Burt to bring in the sound if it's at fucking City Night. You don't need Ting Bella to do the lights if it's at City Night. It was a game changer, and as we got older, that's what we wanted. Nobody who want to go, you know, who want to go to St. Augustine Church and have the nuns come in, you tell you can't play, you know, fuck the police. Like, you want to hear like the full edit. So I think that's what like changed as we got older, and you know, and then you know, you talk about turntablism and things like that. That also changed it where it became DJ centric and not crew centric. You know, and I think that's what like was like the beginning of the end of like kind of mobile DJing. You know, and it just became corporate gigs or weddings or things like that. You know, where you're gonna have a formal party at a place that doesn't have music. That's what mobile DJing became after that.
So P-Mix says, I was at Bobby G's when someone there talked about Mark.
Bobby G. I got a good Bobby G quote. So Bobby G was this old white man that owned what's called the Soul Disco Record Pool. It was like near Castro, not on Castro, kind of a little bit off, maybe Church. I forgot. He was old back then, so I'm talking like in the 80s. He was old, right? You know, of course, we looked up to him, and I asked him, it's like, I always see you with all these women. How do you do it? He goes, he put his arm around me. He goes, hey, Burt, I may not be able to put the knife in the mustard, but I can still lick the jar. That's my Bobby G story.
Oh man, that's too good.
Sorry, this is like
on that note.
No, it's all good. All good. So PMix976 asks, this good, were you guys in the book Legion of Boom? Obviously, Burt, you were in it. Rok-A-Long, I don't think you guys were in it.
No,
right?
we didn't make the book. I did talk to Oliver a couple after he did his first version, but none of mine made it in there. So
I blocked John shit. I blocked John shit.
He's like, you didn't eat with me.
Burt knows about our story because of his damn wife, who I love.
Yeah.
She grew up with us.
So Lani Luv, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Lani Luv. Like she was probably like, I might say like even male, like best rapper, like not male, best rapper at that time. At that time, she's probably one of the best rappers. You know, that's why like when you said we had some women rappers at the battle, I don't remember that. And I was like, why wouldn't you get Mel? And I was like, how come you didn't get Mel? They couldn't be on Mel's level.
Mel was with someone else.
3D, right? She was more 3D. Yeah. But they couldn't have been on Mel's level.
They're all sisters, bro. They all grew up together.
Oh, like this, he tried to be all like diplomatic about it.
I'm just telling you.
After your guys' cruise, where did you guys move on to? Are you guys still DJing? Henry, if you want to start.
I started doing fill-ins here and there, like Harry's Club in San Francisco. Sometimes I filled in at Fort McKinley, and but other than that, you know, mobile gigs just you know, kind of takes too long. You're the first one there, last one out, and especially with you know, the weddings and the booze, it's very demanding, and I don't know if I can still take that pressure. So it's, you know, once in a while I'll fill in a club. The last club I did was I think last year, Delirium in San Francisco.
Do you still spin today?
Only in the bedroom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. John?
Yes, I still spin, except for COVID, right? But I started DJing back up again in 2000 and did a wedding for a relative. And then I got my brother, Maurice Attendido. He's on the chat. Shout out to Mo. Yeah, we started up our new group, Bring That Beat Back. And then we started DJing together for several years. And now I still DJ, do all types of events. And DJ Rue Hefner, who's on here, we shared a venue in Danville. So, you know, it was kind of a chance to get out to see some of the other folks that aren't kind of our pigment. So party for them or DJ for them because we know how to do it, right? So it's good times, man. I'm glad we were back actually partying because we kind of missed out on that stuff. So
yeah. And Burt?
I still do, you know, things here and there. Even in the pandemic, I did like True, which is a sneaker store. I DJ'd at the Ceremony parking lot, which was the highlight of my DJ career in the summer, just this summer. I'm just teasing. But I did DJ in the with Keith O. You know, now when I DJ, I just try to do kind of to not educate people, but just like set different moods. So it would depend on the gig, you know. I like really doing more like mellow shit and just like stuff that you would just like have a good drink and like nod your head to. I'm not into kind of getting people to dance. I'm more in just like setting a like mood. But I still DJ and I'm still terrible, but I have a really good, you know, ear for music. And I think that's what's important now, or as opposed to when we used to DJ, everybody was a critic, whether it was the girl in 8th grade to the old man that cleaned up the hall after. They knew if you were whack. Now it's not about your technical skills, but it's more about what you play. So I could camouflage my lame technical skills with good music, you know? So that's kind of where I'm at, you know, from a DJ perspective now, you know, and then I did a lot of corporate gigs, and, you know, like Henry kind of alluded to that, like for Nike and just, you know, stores, just again, because that's kind of what they want. They want a mood, and they want to know that you're not going to play, you know, the Roof is on Fire with the F word, you know, so they could feel safe that I wouldn't do that and things like that. So I did a lot of Nike gigs and just like stores. And, you know, like in Vegas, I'll do like some Pacquiao events and stuff like that. But now it's like I just have fun, you know. Now it's just more like just have fun. I get to get out the house, you know.
And then Burt, there were a couple battles that
we had like 3-4 battles. Okay. Yeah, if you look at it, this is 1986, January 3rd. Yeah, that's at South San Francisco High School, and that's ESP. I don't know who was in ESP. Is it John Manila? I'm not sure who was in ESP back then. But you know, you could see like the old flyers, they had to like hand do that shit. So when you look at like the top font, those are all like rub-on letters. You would go to like whatever the store is, and you would buy that like sheet, and then you'd have to like rub each letter on. The other shit is like hand style, right? Like the sound sequence. But like all this whole flyer is done on rub-off letters, which is crazy if you think about it. And then we had one that we lost. I think it was in World War III, and that was kind of my fault. Like I'll take like full blame on that, and I made a bad decision. You know, I don't say I panicked, but I made a last minute change, and it didn't work in our favor. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Dan the Automator.
Yep.
So like Rick was supposed to DJ with like Dan, and then Dan at that time was, you know, he was producing records and stuff. So we had Dan on there, and this guy, his name was I think his name was Johnny Juice. He came from New York to do a record with Dan, and he was like, you know, he DJ'd like on all. He basically was Terminator X. So everything that you hear Terminator X scratching was Johnny Juice. So we were like, hey, Rick, we're gonna have Johnny Juice go, and it just, you know, I feel bad because I know Rick was like, oh, dude, what the fuck, you know? And Johnny Juice, he did all the acrobatic shit, like he stood on the turntables, you know, all the pre-DMC shit he was doing, but I don't think people were ready for that here. You know, like it wasn't, they were there like to hear like the dance shit. It was too almost like ahead of like the time, and we didn't win. So it was a bad coaching decision.
I think you guys were just exhibition at this one, right?
Yeah, this is like one of like Union City Holly Center. Union City, we had a lot of good times in Union City, and that's another person I think that we all owe a lot to is Arlen Aviar. Yeah. So her thing was AA Productions. So she was kind of like, you know, the Pepsi to Imagine's Coke. You know what I mean? Like, but they were friendly. So it wasn't like they were against each other. So that's probably not a good analogy. But she threw these gigs out there in San Jose, and I think that's where maybe John, they had the big fight or something.
Yeah,
didn't Rok-A-Long have a big fight with a Samoan
that was at a different. That wasn't even a DJ thing. That was playing football against a bunch of Samoans in San Jose, which wasn't smart.
Oh, okay, that's a different thing.
It's smart to go into the Lions Den. I went in the Lions Den thinking, and I shouldn't take too much credit because I didn't actually go. But
I don't know if it's practice DJing or hit the heavy bag more. I'm not sure.
A little bit of both, right? You know, I wanted to DJ. All these other guys wanted to do some stupid shit.
But for the most part, man, back in those days, those were the people that probably weren't part of your group. They just hung out. You know, the actual people that were in the group, you know, and Henry, you know, it's like we didn't do like all the crime shit because, like I said, like you can't do that, and like you know, your exposure is too high. You know what I mean? I think for the most part, it's just like even these rappers now, like it's the entourage, it's not the rappers. You know what I mean? It's the same thing.
That's the word, the entourage.
Yeah, it's the same thing with DJing back then. It wasn't us, you know, whether it was like Ultimate or, you know, Unlimited Sounds. You know, it was the people that the hanger-ons. that like started shit, you know.
For you guys, and I know like definitely obviously back then it was all about like the vinyl, you know, like vinyl collecting is like heavy, right? And all that. When Serato came out, is that, you know, and I know for a lot of the DJs that I've talked to, a lot of them, that's kind of what brought them back. Was that the same similar thing for you guys? Like, did you guys take a little lull and then come back because of Serato or and controllers and all that and CDJs or?
Serato didn't bring me back, but it definitely enhanced what I could do. Because you could, like, we're not DJing in battles anymore. We're DJing for events. We're DJing for weddings or 80th birthday parties or whatever now. And so thank goodness that, you know, the DJ community, everybody wanted everybody to come back. Everybody's like, hey, you should try this and DJ. The controllers are really easy. These kids that are doing it these days, they don't know what the hell they're doing, you know? So you should come back and try it. And you could just see every DJ that comes back and uses Serato, they're like, how come I haven't been doing this sooner? It's like,
yeah. I mean, that's the difference though. You know, it's like, you could teach a lot of people how to DJ and be technically sound and, you know, count beats and, you know, where to throw it in and where to hit the echo and all that. But you cannot teach sound selection. And I think that's where a lot of us, you know, Henry, all of us have like a big, like internally, like sound library. And if you go to me like, Burt, Heart of Glass is my favorite song by Blondie. I can know like, okay, you like Heart of Glass? I'll have a lineup for you like tomorrow. You know what I mean? Or at a dance floor, like at a wedding, if they go, hey, can you play? Like that, you with one song, you could feel the crowd and know, you know, like, okay, this is where I'm going to go with it. And then you know when to back up off it. And then maybe, oh, the younger people, I got to play for the younger people too. I think that's the difference between our era and then like the era now. It's like, you cannot teach the kind of like internal sound library that we have. You know, you can't, we lived it. Like we knew what song rocked what people, rocked what time period, and we knew like when to release it. You know, like now, like I know I was talking to you earlier, what happens is if we DJ tonight and you go, okay, we have a 3-hour thing. Henry's going to DJ first. Bert's going to DJ. Henry go at 9. I'll go at 10. Then John's going to close at 11. These kids now just want to bust the party. Henry would be just the young kid that would want to bust the party out at 9. I'm like, yo, Henry, dude, we haven't even served cocktails yet, and you're fucking gonna play like the hottest song of fucking 2020. It's like, you know, you gotta fall back. No, but you know what I mean. And I think that's like, so Henry be like, yo, bro, I don't care. Like I got like, you know, 30,000 followers on this, that, the other. So like, fuck you. You only got like 10. You know, I gotta play for my people and I gotta play for my name. And I think that's like what, you know, kind of alluding to what I was talking about. Like everybody knew their role. Where like people now, it's so individual that everybody is just DJing for themselves. Like if I DJ with Carry On Kid and Jeannie G, I'll be like, yeah, man, you want me to open this shit or you want me to close it? Because I know I'm fucking horrible. You know, like you're the man. Like I'll set it up for you, and I'm not gonna fucking play like the burners. I'll set it. We'll do the shit like this. You know, build that shit up for you. And I'm willing to take that shit because I respect your craft. I respect the craft. I respect you as, you know, a DJ. So I know my role. I think a lot of people now don't respect that part. And it's just about, you know, being singularly like by themselves. And I learned that just because of the crew. I learned that as a crew. Like, hey, I know my limitations. I know, you know, I have self-awareness on my DJ skills. Like, yo, dude, I'm not fucking good. So like, let me fucking start or close, you know, not you, you know, like Henry's prime time, like that motherfucker can, you know, do shit. I can't do it, you know? And I think that's what you can't teach. And I think that's what a lot of people struggle with now, you know? So as much as technology gets better, you still can't teach that. But that has helped people like John and myself. I'm not saying John is like terrible like me, but we caught up. We can catch up to all these other people because now I can visually look at shit. I can do shit. Like I'm not the offbeat motherfucker like I used to be. You know what I mean? Like I have a little bit help, you know, I have a handicap, you know, but I have the creativity and the mind of music that where I can carry out what my thoughts were. Back then, I had a lot of thoughts, but I physically and technically couldn't carry out those thoughts. You know what I'm saying? But with technology, that's like my crutch.
For sure.
Definitely. Am I hyping myself up too much?
I was feeling it, bro. I was feeling it.
You feeling it?
No, I was feeling it too.
Ray Beret had one of those badass mixes. It was one of the first mixes he uploaded on Mixcrate.
Ray is badass.
He's badass when he came back. And you know, when you do collaborations, like me and Ray did, we did one night at Mercury Lounge. I don't know if it was a Valentine's thing, but not too many people were there, you know. But you know, there's that level of respect too, because he's got the big name, and you know, he's been around longer. Hey Ray, what should I play, or what are you gonna play? Because you don't want to play the same shit, you know. Yeah.
Whereas I don't think people do that now. You know, like I don't think, you know, like all my homies, you know, like Romeo and E-Rock and them, you know, they're at that level in Vegas and stuff where they don't have to ask for, they're like headliners. But I don't think the kids fucking ask that shit now. They just fucking burn the shit. Like they're like, I have my, you know, hour set and I'm gonna fucking burn the house down. You're gonna burn the house down at 9 o'clock in Vegas? Like what? They're just fucking setting up the fucking bottles and shit. Like fucking, you know, what the fuck you doing?
The atmosphere girls are just showing up, man.
Exactly.
So we had a question in the group. It was, what would you guys do different if you guys could go back in time?
I would take pictures. We didn't take pictures because we thought we were fucking too motherfucking cool. You know, I never wanted to take no fucking picture. Like, nah, I ain't taking no picture. That's corny shit. I wish we would have documented more shit, took pictures, and recorded more shit. That's what I really think.
Yeah.
Same here. We should have taken more pictures. I think the only picture I sent you were the flyers and the SLB2s.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, just a picture of your back.
And my back. Yeah.
It's like
and
not
part
even
of my
your
boombox.
Yeah. There it is. John?
I was saying definitely. Just would have loved more video. People were bringing video cameras out, stuff like that would have been dope. But
cool. Well, I think that's it. Thank you guys. Thank you, Henry. Thank you, Burt. Thank you, John. Thank you guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Thanks for sharing story. Thank you guys. All right.